Right, so I've just watched Nick's video on harvesting his potatoes and the problems he had with tubers being eaten. So I've decided to whiz up here this evening and harvest these. And I'm glad I have, because something's been digging in down here again. That's about the third time in that particular area. And you can see the disturbance just here. So that's been dug away. So I think I'm doing this at the perfect time. So I'm going to put it on time lapse and harvest all this lot right now. I just want to show you something. All those tubers there's my hand for comparison size, just came from one plant. Varieties Blue Danube, and I'll just want to show you, there's the soil level and there's the depth of soil. So it's not a bad depth of soil. Compost on here. Ah no, that's a tea bag. Don't know what that's doing there. Anyway, cut long story short, that was one plant, and I don't think that in such a bad harvest from one plant. I won't stop the video again. I'll keep it going, but just thought that was of interest. That there's the soil level undisturbed, and there's the compost. Oh, and there's one more potato. That's the only downside about this particular variety, and that is that they're so dark they're quite hard to see in the soil. But the taste for roasting and jacket potatoes is awesome. This bed was planted up on the 31st of March using my own seed potatoes because I couldn't get any good quality Blue Danube anywhere. So I used my own seed. That was the last of the dregs of what I had. Tiny little seed potatoes. I'll cover that off later on. This one that I'm unearthing now is Carolus. Both of these potatoes are from the Sarpomira family. They're not quite as blight resistant as Sarpomira, but they definitely have blight resistant genes going through them for resistance against blight in the tubers. But unlike Sarpomira, they're better tasting on the eating qualities. And just as I said a week ago, blight is wintry on our crops now. This is Blue Danube, and I've also said that Blue Danube, even though it's a Sarpo, will get blight on the foliage but not transfer it down to the tubers. But today I'm chopping all the foliage off and getting rid of it, just in case. Now then, I used a different growing method than I usually do. Normally we'd plant in rows traditionally of 60 centimetres apart in the rows, 30 centimetres apart in the plants. That would have allowed me to plant in 14 plants in this area. But instead I planted up in a checkerboard format with 30 centimetres from each plant, allowing me 21 plants in exactly the same area, maximising the area that these would cover. This is enabled in the double digging days because you've got good soil depth for the plants to root into. So what I stuck out to try and provide was a good depth of compost, which I think I've done here enough. I put a layer of compost when I first planted them out, a layer of compost when they started shooting through, and then later on a layer of mulch on top of that, which is why you can see the wood chip on top, which is bleached in the sun. The rest of the compost is obviously pretty good, but overall a very good depth of compost, which seems to have worked really well. These potatoes also had a lot of shade to cope with. The apple tree is in front of me there, the shed and the budded that you can't quite see, all providing shade after 2 o'clock, which isn't ideal. I had to come back and record the end of this video again because it didn't turn out very well. on the first recording. So here I am again at the plot, same patch, just to go through a couple of things. First of all, the size of the seed tubers that were planted here were this size. Very small. I didn't expect too much from them. It was what I would say is a bit of a gamble, because I thought this patch here wouldn't produce much because it was very undernourished. Because I dug out an apple tree in this spot, so I thought there's been no nourishment apart from the compost that's gone on here. But as we now know, it worked out rather well. There was 56 pounds of potatoes from here, from an area 2.3 by 2 meters wide. The very next video will be giving up the weights of all the different trials and tests I've done over the last season on the potatoes, find out different composts, containers against no dig, and just find out what has worked best in this quite dry growing year despite the extremely wet winter and spring. And hopefully you'll join me on that one. Thank you for joining me on this one. I'll see you again when I release that video. Thank you very much. All the very best.